going on, everyone? Welcome to the Sunday Hangout. I'm by myself, actually. Alex was set up for an interview with me today, but I think I'm going to have to pass on this opportunity with him since he's running behind. No, he should be here soon. He just rough getting home in traffic. What's up, Scott? How you doing, man? Rat sewage. You've been looking for me too. I mean, I enjoy these little conversations that I have, usually with the guest, but that's not happening at the moment. But how are you doing today? What's going on with you? I know you were giving us some KOTOR advice the last time you were here when I had Scott on. So yeah, I had a couple things I want to talk to with Alex. It's been a minute since him and I conversated. Actually, probably 8 months ago, maybe a little longer than that. I mean, we talk outside of doing streams together, but to have him on, and I've been enjoying doing these Sunday shows. It's fun, something a little different. Throw it out there, get some feedback, get some interaction with people, just have a good time talking Star Wars. Actually, I started watching Dune this morning, the movie, the new one. That was for the first time. Never got into Dune, never read the books, watched the old movies, but it was actually really good. I was really getting into it. It's like almost 3 hours long though, so I didn't finish it in time for this, but yeah. What topics? Well, I'd like to talk about the Clone Wars, the micro series, since I just recently rewatched that. I know he's a big fan of that. I really enjoyed it. I watched it about a year ago, and it was a good time. But this time, I really just sat there and watched it straight through, and it was really good. It brought me back to being a kid. Saturday mornings watching cartoons. It's just got that old feel to it, and the story was really good. It's actually Tartakovsky did a great job with that series. Yeah, it was such a blast to really just take it in. I really wanted to sit on the floor with a bowl of cereal and watch it, but I stood in the kitchen, drank some coffee, did my thing with it, and so I'd like to talk about that with him. Also, The Phantom Menace being re-released this year, May 3rd. I'd like to talk about the poster, the new design. I think it's fabulous, so we'll bring that up later. And just books, The Dark Nest. I started reading the Junior Jedi Knight series, actually, since the book club group isn't finished with the Joiner King yet. So I don't really want to talk too much about that in case they're watching. I don't want to spoil anything. So I picked up the Junior Jedi Knights and started reading that. I recently got that whole series from a good friend of mine. He sent that off to me, and I just wanted to get some more story with Anakin and Tahiri. I really enjoyed them in the New Jedi Order series, and I just wanted to know more. And then eventually I'd like to read the Young Jedi Knights as well. I've heard good things about that. I don't have all the books yet. I have a little mix and match of them. My friend Adam sent me a couple. My buddy Eddie sent me a couple. So I'm getting there. I actually just seen in one of the book smuggler things on Facebook, I believe, there was a gentleman selling a bunch of his books, and I think they had the whole set for like $70, which wasn't a bad, and they looked in great shape. Great shape. My buddy James has them all. Son of a bee, he got them right off the bat. So yeah, that's kind of like my reading journey. Just waiting to start part 2 of The Dark Nest, giving them guys time to catch up. So I read the first book, The Golden Globe, this morning. They're quick reads. They're young reader books. So I mean, it was only like 116 pages, but I mean the font's big. It's like them old school kids books, but it was really good. It was a good story. Nancy Richardson did the first 3, and then Rebecca Monista did the final 3. It's only a 6-book series, so it's really good. And that's actually Kevin J. Anderson's wife. She and him did the Young Jedi Knight books. So yeah, I really like Jaina, Jason, Anakin until Star by Star, which was a mind blower for me. I still think about that. It's like that book with Star by Star was so good, man. So good. Troy Denning did a fabulous job with that. What's the story centered around? The Junior Jedi Knights? Just how they became friends. Basically, Anakin gets shipped off to the Jedi Academy on Yavin 4. Jason and Jaina come back. He goes, and it's just their first meeting and how they built their relationship and got connected. Because in the New Jedi Order, they kind of had a thing going on. There were some feelings there. So I just kind of want to get a feel of what that was like in the beginning and how they got there. Hey, what's up, Maxine? Where's Alex? Yeah, I had to let him go. Actually, he showed up late for the interview and I fired him. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. He's coming. He was late in traffic. And here he is.
Hi.
There's the young man now.
Looks kind of weird, but
well, you look good.
Bottom, so but
yeah, everybody was asking about you. Scott says you overslept.
Yeah. No, I was trying to figure out something that would look better, but it was not working out for me.
He's been abducted by the Trade Federation.
Yes. You know what that means? It's invasion.
Yeah. No, I just started. I kicked it off. I could have waited, but I'm like, no, people might be waiting. And then I said that you were late for the interview, so I had to let you go.
Yeah.
No, it's been a minute, man. It's been a minute that we actually got to talk.
Yeah, it's been a while.
This. It's been a while. It's been too long. I know we talked. Well, we'll get to it. Some people were asking what some of the topics I wanted to talk to, but back when I was in the Clone Wars era of reading, we were going to do a stream, but we couldn't make it happen.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Maxine. Yeah,
Hello.
he's here. He's here.
I am here.
I got to go grocery shopping, but okay. Well, have fun shopping. Make sure. What kind of groceries you getting? Getting some snacks, because we could use some snacks, right, Alex?
Yeah, definitely.
So how you been? How you been, man?
I've been good. Just a lot of work and stuff, but reading the EU. It's been basically going through it for the second time now. Yeah, well, at least the post Endor era. Dawn of the Jedi to Truce of Bakura was all like new to me mostly, except for like Darth Plagueis and Darth Bane, and then KOTOR. I had played those the first time around, but everything else, like during the Clone Wars and everything, was pretty much new.
Yeah.
So that was all first time for me. But now I'm back at everything that I know. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say we were kind of almost on the same page there, but then you just rocketed past us because you were putting out your reviews, and it's like I'm on that book.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, I'm 2 books behind because you're just it's crazy. But I want
to pump them out. So twice a week.
Max needs goldfish for the next super lit stream.
Oh my god, the snack that smiles back.
Hey, my kids love them too. They eat the crap, but we got to buy 2 boxes. Yeah, man. I want to say thank you to you. I've been wanting to tell you this rather than through a message, how we talk regularly, but like you do a fantastic job for the fandom with everyone. Like you're always sharing everybody's stuff that they put out everywhere. Man, like you're like the promoter for everyone. It's fantastic, man.
I do. I'm like on 15 Facebook groups of like the EU, so I'll just start spamming and stuff in there.
Yeah. That's great though, man. So I want to say thank you, and I'm sure that's all of us really. We appreciate what you do and how you try to get it. It's like I like some of the posts, and then it's like, holy man, he's over here, he's on this, he's on Instagram. But so thank you. I've been wanting to tell you that, man.
No problem. I'm glad to help.
Yeah. I just recently rewatched the micro series. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
And I was saying earlier, it's like, man, I love that. I thought he did a fantastic job. It reminded me of like I wanted to sit on the floor with a bowl of cereal, and like it's just got that Saturday morning cartoon feel to it, but it's really good.
Yeah,
it's like so good.
I love it. It's so short. It's quick. but it gives a lot in the little bit that it has.
It does. It does, especially with Barris and Luminara. How when she creates her lightsaber and they're talking about the crystal and what it means, like it's really in depth and it's really good.
Yeah. Or Kit Fisto has that whole episode where you get to be on Mon Calamari kicking butt underwater.
Yeah. Underwater.
Yeah, which you don't see too often.
No, you don't see none of that.
That wasn't even a question I thought to ask. How would a lightsaber work in water? But then we got our answer.
He did it.
So,
he did it, man.
It's my dog.
That's all right. That's mine's. Actually, ours got a haircut yesterday, so now she looks pretty. She's a golden doodle, so she gets really puffy, and now she looks like a little girl again, rather than a big old dust collector.
Yeah.
So what else you been up to, man? What else is good?
Yeah, I mean, just pretty much it. Just reading the EU. Was reading a bit of Halo EU. So like I just finished the Forerunner trilogy by Greg Bear, who also wrote Rogue Planet in the Star Wars EU. So that was pretty good.
Yeah. Actually, I picked up a book of his. I don't have it yet. A local guy in my town has he sells books out of his garage, or you can trade a book for a book. And there was a Greg Bear book that I've never heard of before. I can't think of the name of it now, like Transparency or something, but it's like a collection of short stories that he did. And I got it for $1, so I can't wait to go grab that and check that out, because I liked the way he wrote Rogue Planet. Like his writing style was really good. But
yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of Rogue Planet. I thought it was a bit in some parts. There were some parts I did really enjoy, but there was a good middle part. It was kind of a slog for me. But I really enjoy his trilogy in Halo. It takes place before like any of anything really. It's really early on. It's like 100,000 years before the games or anything.
Did it actually happen?
Yeah. It's because sorry.
No.
Yeah. It's a household full of people. So, but it deals with. It basically explains like a bad guy from Halo 4 that gets introduced, and then it also kind of just explains some of the origins of just everything. So it gives you a whole new context for the games, like the original 3 trilogy, and then makes you understand the bad guy of Halo 4 a bit better. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's actually it's pretty good. It was I liked it a lot more from Greg Bear than Rogue Planet personally.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What's going on, Eddie? Thanks for popping in, man. Appreciate you. You're a fantastic gentleman. So you know. The Blood Carver part was good in Rogue Planet. Yeah. That was really good. Anakin's first kill. I liked it. Yeah, I liked the beginning too, man. I thought the dialogue between Obi-Wan and Anakin, like I enjoyed that. I thought that was good. I like to see that different side, especially when I believe Anakin was sleeping one time and Obi-Wan just kind of got emotional, like looking at him, if I recall. Like that really stood out to me. You start to see that bond build. Like we didn't get that. It just kind of happened in the movies.
That's one thing that didn't really happen in the EU or in TCW. I didn't feel like they fully explored that as well as they could have. I mean, there's a couple moments like in the Republic comics where, you know, Anakin starts doing more dark side stuff because he thinks Obi-Wan's like dead, which they also did in TCW, but that was a different thing of like Obi-Wan doing that on purpose because he had to go undercover, which was a whole thing. But, you know, so we had those little moments there, but I didn't feel like they spent enough time with just the two of them interacting. Which TCW, they introduced Ahsoka. So there's so much time with Ahsoka and Anakin that it cut away from time that could have been with Anakin and Obi-Wan. I mean, we still got that, but it felt like if it was just them, then it could have been more. It could have built upon everything to make episode 3 even hit harder. But, you know, I guess they just decided against it. But that's TCW and the EU, so they both kind of flubbed it with that.
Yeah, there isn't really a whole lot like Rogue Planet, and you said in Republic comics, there's a little bit.
Yeah, there's a little bit of stuff that goes on. Yeah, those are really good whenever you get to them. There's also, you read Jedi Apprentice, right?
Yep.
Yeah, which had Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, and then Jedi Quest. It takes place in the 10 years in between episode 1 and episode 2, and that's on Obi-Wan and Anakin. So there's a little bit of that there too.
Yeah, that's like 6 or 8 books in there. I don't own all of them. I
think there's 10 of them.
10 of them? Oh, man.
I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they really stretched them out with them, the young reader books. Like they really made a whole long. What was good? Jedi Apprentice was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I'd love to get that.
There's one called Legacy of the Jedi, I think, which back in Matt's original reviews, he'd accidentally called Legacy of the Force Legacy of the Jedi. The Legacy of the Jedi is this special. It's because it's not Jedi Apprentice, it's not Jedi Quest, but it's related to both. But it has 4 different sections focused on this one character that can introduce. We start with, and this is like the only story we really get with Dooku that's super young, but Dooku's like a kid, and he's got this best friend at the temple. And then we jump ahead to Qui-Gon and Dooku, and his friend is now this antagonist, and Dooku may be gonna kill him, but Qui-Gon's there, so he doesn't do it. And then it cuts to the Clone Wars, and then we get Obi-Wan and Anakin dealing with the same things. Also, while Dooku's now a part of the Separatist movement and everything, so it all revolves around this like one new character, but it goes through like 4 different timelines. And so there you also get a lot more Anakin and Obi-Wan, but then also just getting to see like Dooku at such a young age is kind of a privilege. And I always wanted Jude Watson to do like a Dooku and Qui-Gon story, but we never really got that, unfortunately.
There's so much stuff that they could have done, even like just that. Alex is into he really gets into it. What's going on, Arthur?
Sometimes.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy listening to your reviews too, man. Like they're long, but you do a good job with that. And like the Star by Star one, I meant to tell you because I listened to that after I finished the book. Yeah, you were pretty spot on. I mean, I thought it was a bit long. For sure.
I thought the pacing was a bit off there.
But it was, but to me, like you're right, it's long. But overall, to me, it felt like a good story, even with the length. Like I don't like
picking cut a little bit, but but it's still the overall gist of it is so good. So
I wonder, do you know why, like Jude Watson stopped writing, or that was just because like we're getting 10 years, right? 10 years since the EU's been decanonized now.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think because it's so darn good. Like going through it for me, which everyone knows, like it all fits so far. Everything that I'm reading.
No, definitely not everything, but for 30 plus years of history, it remains remarkably consistent, considering. So I don't exactly know why Jude Watson didn't do anymore. I think there just wasn't a demand for anymore. We had Jedi Apprentice, we had Jedi Quest, and then we had The Last of the Jedi, which takes place after episode 3 during the Dark Times. And then we just didn't. There was one Rebel Force, which took place after episode 4. And we all thought, because it was written by somebody named Alex Wheeler, and you look up Alex Wheeler, and there are no writing credits except for this.
Yeah.
So we all thought for the longest time that it was, because it felt like Jude Watson, like when we read it. So we thought, it's just Jude Watson going under a pen name for some reason. And we just recently found out that no, that's not the case at all. So I don't know why she never did any more. I think it's purely just because it was like a Scholastic thing, because those were like Scholastic young adult books.
Yeah.
And they just, I don't know. I can't give you any specifics on that, but I'm just speculating that just there wasn't a demand for it anymore. But I mean, I think everybody would want like a Dooku and Qui-Gon young adult series, or
even Yoda and Dooku would be cool.
Yeah, Yoda and Dooku. We get very small of that in that Legacy of the Jedi story, and then also Yoda Dark Rendezvous. We get a very small snippet. But
what's going on, Marcel?
Marcel,
it's the man.
Does a great book club, as well as doing amazing narrations of short stories.
He's got a voice, man.
So if you're lazy and don't want to read, no, I'm just kidding. But if you're on a car ride and want to listen to some short stories, you should listen to The Ranchist.
Thanks, Rat Sewage. I don't do a good enough job asking for that. I always feel weird doing that, if I'm going to be honest. You know what I mean?
I never really say that in my
I tried a few times and I just feel off. I just feel
like and subscribe.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Nah, man. Just they know what's up, right?
Yeah.
Even if they like it, you don't.
Not that it matters anymore. The dislike button doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. So what does it even mean?
Yeah. That's how we that sure changed a lot of things. Hey, that thumbs up and thumbs down button.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, back in the early heyday of YouTube, where you'd have like a video with like it's got millions of views, but it's got so many dislikes and like barely any likes, and those just don't exist anymore.
No, no. Now it's like everyone gets hurt feelings, but it's
like back when I was doing my reviews, like just a year or two ago, I'd be like, and if you disagree with me, go ahead and dislike, but regardless, it'll help the algorithm. So go ahead and dislike the video.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't matter.
Well, since we were talking about kind of the prequel era a little bit, I figured I'd bring this baby up.
Oh yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm gonna try to see it because I never got to see it in theaters because I wasn't born yet. So
look at that poster that they designed, man.
That's really good.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is absolutely amazing.
But now we know that Palpatine's a bad guy, it would have been cool to see him somewhere here, just like kind of smiling. Well, but it's still great because he is the Phantom Menace. It's not Maul.
But that was an amazing moment, man, when Maul first appears. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, with his double-bladed lightsaber. Yeah.
I got this all jacked up here.
It's okay.
That's all right. That's live. That's what happens.
Yeah.
I would like to get that poster. I know that when they did the Return of the Jedi, they made another poster, and from what I know, they gave them out at some theaters. Like you could get one of them posters. Hopefully they do the same thing with the Phantom Menace, but the Return of the Jedi was in limited theaters. So I don't know if this one's going to be in the same way because it was nowhere near close to where I lived, where I could have went and watched it. But I haven't got too much more information on that. There are extensions you can use that will show the amount of dislikes. Oh
really?
Wow. That's I guess if people want to see.
If they really want to see it,
Yeah. Ray Park was screwed in that movie. He had a good bit of lines cut from the time. Yeah.
Yeah. He still did a great job with what he had.
He's a fantastic martial artist.
Yeah.
Really good. Really good.
There's a 12-hour review of Phantom Menace you can find on YouTube now, which goes over his fight in detail with like Qui-Gon in the desert. That's like maybe a minute of screen time in the movie, and it takes like 15 minutes for him to dissect the whole fight. And he does the same thing with the Naboo fight. So
yeah, have you watched some of the behind the scenes where them guys actually training to do all that?
Yeah, I've seen those back. I have the DVD where it has it in, so
that's it's crazy how much time they all put in to making that look so good.
It definitely looks the absolute best was the prequel era with the fights, because in episode 4 you have episode 5 is a little bit better, and episode 6 is a little bit better, but I still don't really feel and then the prequels come in and it's amazing. And then the sequels were okay. I can be objective and say they were fine with the fights, but they weren't the prequels though. It actually kind of reminded me, there's once you finish Legacy of the Force Invincible, when you get there, on YouTube, look up Legacy of the Force fan film. There's a fan film that goes over the last like couple chapters of the book.
Really?
Yeah, it's really good. And the fighting is like an in-between of the prequels and the original trilogy, because it's not as spectacular or fantastic as the prequels, but it's also not as stale and dry as like the original trilogy can be sometimes with the fights. So it felt like a good like little in-between there. But yeah, it's just like the big finale of the final book of Legacy of the Force that they acted out and did a whole thing for. So it's really good. So I recommend it once you finish Invincible.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Speaking of which, which one are you on? The second book in Dark Nest right now?
Yeah, I didn't start it yet.
Oh, okay.
The book club that I'm in, the guys are all a little bit behind, so I didn't really want to talk about that much, just in case they're watching.
Oh, okay.
We added a new person to the group too, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
Another one of our friends. Yep, our friend Buddy. He's in the group now, so he's pumped.
Does he know about the other books, or is he just gonna ride along with this?
No, he knows about. He's been a big Star Wars. He's an original.
Okay.
He's a Legends fan. He's an expanded universe.
So he already knows about all this stuff.
He knows about
it. He's just gonna jump in with you at Darkness and like no idea
what's
going on.
I mean, kinda. I mean, that's he knows their stuff, but this is gonna be the first giddy up. And he's like, and he texted me Saturday morning at like 4 a.m. He's like, man, I started this book and it's really good. I'm gonna try to catch up because we get together at 9 a.m. And he gets there, he reads like 14 chapters, and he's like, man, these characters, they feel like the characters. Like Luke feels like Luke, Han and Leia feel, I mean, he's like, this is great. So it was awesome to get to hear that, because that's kind of how I feel too. It's like they feel like you can
Mark
picture
Hamill.
it. Yeah. It's great. We'll jump back here. Scott, poor Jake Lloyd is now working as like a car mechanic in Ottawa. Yeah. I thought Jake Lloyd did fine. I don't know why he got a lot of crap.
Yeah. If anybody, I like those movies, but if you're going to blame on anybody, put it on George. Don't put it on a little kid that's just doing exactly what he was being instructed to do.
Yeah. So I thought his acting was good, man. I like The Phantom Menace is my favorite prequel movie,
but still Revenge of the Sith for me. But I think I like Revenge of the Sith, Phantom Menace, and then Attack of the Clones. So, but I never had a problem with Jake Lloyd. I never had a problem with Jar Jar. For years, this is actually funny because in the one of the last Super Literary Encounters we were doing, Red Letter Media got mentioned. He's a big reviewer on YouTube of like movies and stuff. But for years I hear from like Nostalgia Critic and Red Letter Media and Chris Stuckman and Jeremy Johns and all these other movie reviewers back in the day that, the Phantom Menace, it sucks because Jar Jar Binks is like the most annoying character and he just ruins the entire movie. And then I go and watch the movie as an adult with because I went loving them as a child, and like I started being on the internet and I'm like, you know what, maybe they do suck because that's what everybody's saying. And then I watched them as an adult to form my own opinion, and I'm like, I try to count like Jar Jar's maybe he maybe has like 30 minutes of full screen time out of like a 2-hour movie. So like, and most of his like really annoying parts are like, oh, he stepped in poop and he went rah for like a second, and then it cuts to the next scene. Like people act like it spent like 3 minutes on this one part when it's just like it's one and done. It's not. They make a bigger deal out of it than it is. Like Jar Jar's just like, he's the same thing that R2-D2 and C-3PO was in Episode 4. Like just characters that were meant for kids. They'd be like, ooh, we like that. I never had a problem with Jar Jar. I think he's perfectly fine.
I think he fits the role perfectly. And like George said, I mean, we made him for kids.
Yeah.
Right. Catching up on some comments here. Yeah. Alex is the biggest promoter. Yeah. It's true. You're great, man. We need to get you like a badge, or I don't know. You need your own talk show. It's just great. Jar Jar and young Anakin are brilliant in comparison to recent projects. Just my opinion. Yeah.
I understand why Scott feels that way about Episode 1, but I don't think it is. I think maybe some of the execution doesn't land, but I think overall Episode 1 and the prequel trilogy as a whole, what it has on paper is brilliant. And I'll defend a lot of stuff. Like people said, like Episode 1's full of CGI, even though like the pod racing scene, outside of the actual pod racing, the entire aliens and stuff, there was a lot of CGI aliens, but like the like stand and everything where they're all sitting, the like little structures that they were sitting in to watch it, was all real. Like the whole like sand area, that initial area, the starting area, was real. It's just the actual race is fake. And there's a lot of that where they actually put in a lot more practical stuff than people realize they did.
Yeah.
So hold on.
Yep. No, that's right. I'll jump down here Marcel said He's always a fan, Jar Jar, and that's true, man. I never had a problem with him either. I thought he fit the role perfectly.
As he should be. As he should be.
Episode 1 is kind of a train week.
That's what I was responding to.
Yeah, yeah. The same.
I don't think it's the same as Jedi Prince. You haven't gotten to Jedi Prince.
No.
But I'm not. Let me just. So you've got the bad guys. They'll meet up in their meetings, and they'll say dark greetings. Dark greetings. You see, and so some ideas from the sequels, like Palpatine having children, is a thing in Jedi Prince. So there's a lot of silly things there, right? But like it is extremely silly. Jabba the Hutt has a father, and his father rocks dreads. Just has dreads, you know. Well, it's great. It's really silly and fun. But I don't think. Oh,
we might have lost you. Oh, you're back. Okay. I have not read The Jedi Prince, Scott. You know that, but I know you're a fan. That was, I believe, your first giddy up into the reading Star Wars, which we talked about. I have one of the collections, I think book 2 of the collections of it, and I don't have any of the books for the beginning of the series. What is it, like a 6-book or 8-book set? 6? Okay. We're gonna do sign language. Should I mute my mic too? And then we can all. No, I'm just kidding. How's that for all you Star Wars fans out there? Right here, baby. One love. Ahmed Best got a lot of flack for that role too, even though
my family doesn't know how to use their inside voices, so I gotta.
Oh, that's all right. So have them come on. Tell them to come on. We'll all talk. Yeah, it'll be a blast, man.
Yeah. So
yes, he did get a lot of flack for that role, and he is a great actor.
This is why I don't live stream very often.
Well, that's all right. Yeah. I'm just having fun with it. Alex is the hype man of the EU. That is the truth.
I try. I do love the EU.
Brother. You are. I'll catch up on these comments here. The flav of the EU. And there we go. Get him a big clock with a Jedi symbol in the center of it. 6th book, yeah. Okay, Scott. That's what I thought.
But yes, it's a very, very silly series. They have these prophets of the dark side who can predict things, but they're really silly things that are like Vader's glove can give them power, stuff like that. And it's like taken seriously, which is why it's so silly. I think there were later retcons that it's like, no, they're just full of it. They're just spreading lies. They don't have any actual truth behind it. There's a novel by Matthew Stover called Shadows of Mindor that focuses on Luke and everything. And the bad guy of that book, Shadow Spawn, or Lord Chronal, like the retcon was that like because he can like see like the future and stuff sometimes. So like it's basically that book says, oh, he used to work with those people from Jedi Prince. So when he was working with them, they told accurate things, and then he left them. So in Jedi Prince, when that happens, which I think is after Shadows of Mindor, they're just making up a whole bunch of silly things, but people trust them because they already made accurate predictions. But now they're just speaking out of their butts. So now it's not. But so it's a very silly and goofy series, but it is a fun. It is a fun read.
Fun read, yeah.
Yeah. Just don't take it seriously.
Okay. Well,
but that's why I don't think it's comparable to episode 1, because episode 1 has a lot of serious elements and tries to actually like tell like a really serious theory.
And it's got the politics involved in it too.
Yeah, which Jedi Prince does not have.
None of that.
It does have Ken Palpatine though. That's all I'll say. Ken Palpatine is which is
so that's where the
Palpatine's grandson. So
they did. Okay.
Yeah, and they never got to use. The reason he's not in New Jedi Order or any story is because back in the day, because it was the Thrawn trilogy, and then it was Jedi Prince. It was like one of the first 2 things to come out. I mean, we had the Marvel comics back in the 70s and stuff, but like the novels, so there's the Lando books, the Han Solo books, the Thrawn trilogy, and Jedi Prince. So the rights holders belong to the people who wrote, because like now how it works, or how it worked with most of the Lucasfilm licensing, was somebody would sign off to write a book, but like those characters aren't theirs. Like they can make characters, they can create characters for the Star Wars universe, but the moment they do that, those are Star Wars characters. They don't own those characters. They belong to Lucasfilm. So, but it wasn't like that with Jedi Prince. So if they were going to keep using Ken Palpatine after the Jedi Prince series, they would have to pay royalties to the authors, and they didn't want to do that. So they just never mentioned Ken Palpatine again. So, which is like a really big thing because it's Palpatine's grandson, but it's just never brought up again. Brendan actually makes a fan fiction where he dies during New Jedi Order, which I don't like because he has so much potential. But if you want a sort of kind of way for him to have an ending, Brennan's fan fiction.
So that book does a good job bringing that character into the realm.
The whole series is really silly, but I do think Ken Palpatine is a good character that could have become a phenomenal character had they used him afterwards. But there's a lot of potential there.
That's crappy that they do that to authors where they don't want to. If they make something that this had, like you said, it's got potential. It's from you talking about it interests me.
Yeah,
like that'd be different.
It's Rey before Rey, but also like completely different.
But yeah, probably a different, like a better storyline of how like how we got Rey.
So I really like Ken. He's a really sweet kid, which is crazy considering his lineage. But yeah. So it was a very similar thing of like you didn't read the Junior Jedi Knight series, but
I just started this morning.
Oh, you just
I just read Golden Globe, finished it this morning.
Because one of the things with that is Anakin dealing with the name that he's been given.
Yeah, in book 1 he starts off with that a little bit, questioning, oh great, I'm going to turn into my grandfather.
Yeah, and just the responsibility of having like I'm the grandson, I'm the grandson of Vader, the son to Han and Leia, and the nephew to Luke Skywalker. Like, so how am I supposed to deal with all this like hype, I guess, this responsibility, this expectation, and so it's kind of a similar thing there with Ken, but a different sort of thing. Oh yeah, there was Zach and Tasha from the Galaxy
of Fear.
Yeah,
which that's a good series too. From the little bit I've read of that, I really
it's phenomenal. Yeah, if you like Goosebumps, it's a lot like that. It's but there's it gives us I'll say, because it's not like a huge spoiler, but like Dr. Evazan comes back. Why is he not around in most of the EU? Read Galaxy of Fear to find out.
Yeah. Well, we and John talked about that. Yeah, he gets whacked. Yeah.
I
read that book already. So
but
it was
stuff
cool.
like that. Like, and I don't read the new canon, so I'm not trying to diss or anything. But this is also a problem, I think, that because I'm going to try to read all of the Halo expanded universe, and I think this has become an issue for Halo 2 as well, is that if all your stuff comes from video games and movies and TV shows in terms of big story changes, then inevitably what has to happen is that every novel story or comic story has to be kind of inconsequential because it can't affect the movies and TV shows. Not everybody's going to read it.
Right.
So it's all going to be kind of filler, And so, but with the EU, it was just the 6 films. Now people say, well, George was going to make a 7, 8, and 9 that would have contradicted the stuff. Maybe, but he only started talking about 7, 8, and 9 when Disney was thinking about buying it. He was like, well, here's my idea if you're going to do it. But he always originally just like, I just want my 6 films. That's it. The EU can do the rest. The only thing that matters to me are these films, And so, but in the EU, Galaxy of Fear with Dr. Evazan, or Jedi Quest, which I was talking about with Obi-Wan and Anakin. Why isn't Yaddle in episode 2? The only way you're going to know is if you read Jedi Quest, a young adult series for kids. That's the only way you get to know what happens to Yaddle. And that's insane to me. That something so important could just be in that. Or the long neck guy from episode 1 that was on the Jedi Council that didn't have a line of dialogue. Jango Fett kills him in a comic book in between episode 1 and 2. You'd have no idea unless you read that comic book.
Yeah.
And that's the crazy thing.
Well, see, I'd like to know, because I didn't know Yaddle was in that.
She's in one book, I'll say.
From the Tales of the Jedi, not the comic, not the original, but the Tales of the Jedi. The show, Dooku killed Yaddle.
Yeah. That's not what happens in the book. I'll say. So, but I mean, that is an interesting thing to do for canon. So I'm glad there's a story there to explain Yaddle's absence. But in the EU, the only way you know is if you read Jedi Quest.
The quest.
Yeah.
So you want to write an article? Yeah, that'd be good.
Also, you read Jedi Apprentice, so you met those friends of Obi-Wan. I think they describe her as like not African American, because African American doesn't exist, but it's like a darker lady and her dad who owned a restaurant, right? Or something like that.
In the Jedi Apprentice series?
In Jedi Apprentice. Did you finish it?
Yeah, I've read it all. Yeah.
There's Jan Arbor and everything with the light whip, and then there was the friends of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, which was a daughter and a dad that like owned this restaurant.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. In Jedi Quest, they go to do other things. Who buys the restaurant? Dexter.
Yeah.
From episode 2. So you have that connection there. So it's just like all that stuff like fills and connects. You're just like, whoa, that's awesome. You don't even know that until you read Jedi Quest, and you're like, whoa, now you relook at it, you're like, whoa, that restaurant is going to become Dax's restaurant in episode 2. That's crazy. So I love that about the EU. Little things like that.
Man, yeah. You're damn good at that. Like I say, you're like an encyclopedia with you.
I'm like the bare bones. You go to Brennan and he'll tell you the page number and the exact quote from whatever book and the characters' names and everything. I don't know how he does it, but
yeah, that'd be good. I'd like to see that, Marcel. That'd be interesting. I think that's a good idea. You need to do some more of them Saturday Night Live readings, by the way. Them were fun.
Oh, right. Barney from the Marvel comics. I forgot about him. Barney was this guy in like 2 issues of Marvel comics who like was force sensitive.
See, I've never read the Marvel comics.
It's definitely something to maybe check out after Legacy of the Force, just because there's such a big character that comes from the Marvel comics into Legacy of the Force. So it might be worth checking out. Yeah, she's a huge part of the first.
Is that the 108? Is that what you guys, or that one that they recently reprinted? No,
she existed before that. It was her name's Lumaya, and she was a love interest of Luke's, but she was a spy for the Empire. And actually, I think it was a retcon later on that she was another Emperor's hand, like Mara Jade was. And she grew up as that. But basically, Luke was in his X-Wing, so was she, because they were both X-Wing pilots. They'd already kissed and stuff. They were like kind of dating during, the 3-year gap in between episode 4 and 5. And he's shooting down the TIE pilots and everything. But he senses something in the Force. He senses danger. His targeting thing was like acting up. So he had to just like rely on the Force because he couldn't actually see where he was shooting at. But he felt danger in this direction. So he shoots, and he shot down Shira Bree, and he didn't know why he did that. But because he just trusted in the Force. And turns out that she was a spy or whatever. And so then Vader finds her and fixes her up, and she becomes Lumaya. But yeah, so she doesn't ever actually die in those comics. She just kind of goes away after a little bit, and we don't hear from her for like 40 years. She just doesn't exist. Just like a loose thread. She just goes away. And then Legacy of the Force comes in, and they reintroduce that character. I won't say how or in what context, but she comes back. And you're like, I guess those comics really do matter now. Because before there's always like a lot of the comics were super silly and stuff because they're from the early 70s. So like, it's like, they're like S-canon, like some of it may matter, but you don't have to take it seriously. But then they elevate it by bringing in her into the novels. So, but yeah. Also, Shadows of Mindor also does a lot of Marvel Comics connections with Fen Shisa, the Mandalorian.
I just want to touch on that comment there. I know they were chatting amongst themselves.
I need a better memory.
Yeah, but that's how I feel, brother. 100%. It's like in the moment of what I'm reading, I'm in that moment, and I can just, it's great. But now you try to go back a few months after you read something different, a couple books. It's like, what? Huh?
Yeah. That only happens to me if it sucks. Like I can barely tell you what happened in Approaching Storm, the exciting prequel to episode 2. It's not exciting, and nothing happens. And the only thing I remember is like one scene where they're all like trying to show their talent to these tribal people. It's like Lenara or Luminara.
Oh yeah, she does that spin.
Yeah,
right. That was cool.
Yeah, that was the only thing I remember.
Yeah, that's honestly, now that you said that, I'm like, did I read that book? No, I did, because when you said the gathering and they're all trying to show off, basically, if she does that badass spin, that was cool.
Yeah, that's all I remember. Is that scene, because it stood out to me.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering what, what was that last year or the year before, the Barnes and Noble special with Kenobi, and then they put the approaching storm in there with it. I was always kind of like baffled by that one.
Yeah, I was like, why would you do that to Kenobi?
Yeah. I mean, there's a few of the prequel novels that aren't like Gambit and Siege.
Yes, that's a Clone Wars tie-in to the show.
Yeah. Like
those are really most of my issue comes from the fact that I love dialogue and I love characterization, and I care about that more than plot. Like, a plot can be kind of stupid and suck, and I'll forgive it if there's a bunch of good character moments, because it makes you feel. And like that's what I care about. That's what I'm here for. To get away from reality for a bit and feel something.
Spot on, brother.
But so I can forgive a bad plot, but bad characterization, I can't. And the problem is that they say so much. There's so much dialogue in these two books, but it's really nothing. Like, they're not really talking about anything. They're just filling space. But Obi-Wan and Anakin talk so much in that two books about their feelings. You would think there'd be no issues ever between them, because one of the issues in the movies alone is just that Anakin doesn't really talk to Obi-Wan about how he feels, because he just feels like he can't trust Obi-Wan with that deepness, with that amount of trust. He trusts Obi-Wan with his life and everything when they fight, but when it comes to how he's really feeling on the inside, he's very careful about what he actually tells Obi-Wan. And that's always been a thing between them, because they don't have the same bond that Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan had. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan would talk. They would talk it out. Anakin will do it if he feels like Obi-Wan notices and is pestering him about it. But if he can get away with not telling him something, he won't do it. And so they talk so much in those two books, and it's like, well, why do they have any issues? They just talked it all out like a therapy session. They should be fine. But also, there's the weird thing of, okay, we have Satine. Not Satine, sorry. We have Satine. Satine from TCW.
I kept wanting to say Sabine Sabatine from.
Yeah. We have Siri from Jedi Apprentice, who also shows up in Jedi Quest, and that's a love interest, right? Those are the two big ones that Obi-Wan had in his entire life. And then Annalene was a possibility, but it never happened, from Kenobi. And then after that,
which I would have really liked that.
I would have liked it too, but Kenobi, I mean, I understand why they can't do that though. Yeah, continuity. But in that duology, Stealth and Siege, we have this new lady.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
you wave to him. Yeah, he had a few different loves. Siritachi was really good.
She's really cool.
I really like that one. But
in Stealth and Siege, oh my goodness, there is a new lady who we've never heard about before. She only exists in this two-parter, and they're not even really dating or in love. They are friends with benefits, and she gets sick from some space fish and is in the hospital dying, and Obi-Wan's really sad about that. But we never heard about her before. She never existed. It's bizarre. It's weird. I don't like it, because she shouldn't be there. You know?
It was just kind of thrown in there. It's kind of how I took it. Like, just this was fine. I was trying not to laugh when you were doing that, but Scott, yes, someone's stealing your Ferrari outside, man.
This is why I never live stream, because there's always noises going on.
Hey, and it is all don't. This is fun, man. This is what it's about. I was damn excited to talk to you, man. I had a rough week, and like I said, I wanted to talk to you. I knew you'd cheer me up, because you're a good talker, man, and you know all this stuff like the back of your hand, and you helped me out a lot on this journey, man. I can't say thank you enough.
Oh, that's no problem. I'm always glad to bring another one into the cult of VU.
That's what it is, man. You know what? To be honest with you, like, y'all know that I watch Disney stuff. too, and some of it I enjoy and some of it I don't. But like the more and more, like that line is starting to shift back, to the EU, like hardcore side, because
it's just like it's a whole journey, like it, and I don't mind if somebody likes both, that's fine. It's not a problem. Too. But it's just a thing of like, why can't we get it continued? Because like when you finally get through all of it with your friends, the last novel is Crucible, and it's not an ending. It's not really like there's a bunch of plot threads left. Like Abeloth is a character. I won't say anything about that.
I don't say anything.
The Jedi, but she's not dead. I'll say that's it. She's still around, so that's not resolved. And there's a lot of other things that are just still out there, and so that's like, can we just get an ending, But
that's what I've heard about Crucible. There's not. It's like it's left open.
Yeah. So. But you read the Thrawn trilogy and Jason and Jaina are born. You see that, and then you have the young adult books with the young Jedi Knights and Junior Jedi Knights. You get to see Jason and Jaina and Anakin grow up. Then you read all of New Jedi Order, where they go through all these hardships, and oh my goodness, they go through all these hardships, and then Dark Nest, The Legacy of the Force, The Fate of Jedi. You see these characters grow up. You see them. Some of them die. Like you just like you have an entire journey of these characters that is kind of hard to come by in the canon stuff when the novels won't ever really be allowed to do anything like that, because it's always going to come from the shows and movies.
Yeah.
So, and that's the one hindrance to doing it that way, because the great thing about George was that he was like, yeah, I mean, the only thing that matters to me is my films, and I'm done with them. I told my story. So the rest of it's on you guys, and so you could make those grand stories because that was the continuation. If you wanted more, you read the books.
Yeah. It's true. And it's, and it's all them authors, all the men and women involved, the artist, you name it, man. Like I feel like they took it very seriously and very passionately to what they brought.
They were all fans.
Because they're damn good, man. Yeah. Like I only read one bad book. And Eddie's currently reading it and he's having a hard time with it.
I've read a few.
But we got let's hit some of these comments.
Yeah.
That's a good question, Alex. If you could only own one Star Wars action figure, who would it be and why?
It doesn't exist, but it would be a Black Series figure of Jason Solo in Traitor with the Vong staffs on all around him.
Oh.
I'd want that. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
I love that. I love the you've seen the Japanese art for
yes. I watched one of you guys did videos on it. I can't remember.
Right. Well, I love the one of Traitor, and I love the whole.
Yeah, that's a badass looking for sure.
That's what I would want.
And why would it be Jar Jar? Actually, I have a talking Jar Jar. All right, that moves and dances. It takes like 16 AA batteries, but I
have my stepdad, who's a Jewish Native American man. He has this little like a Jewish guy with a beard. And you press his little foot, and he goes like "Hava tequila hava," da, 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 da. And that's all I remember from it. But I just think it's really funny. And he said the Jar Jar dance, and it made me think of that. So
Sky River Chronicles, what's going on?
Oh, I see him on Instagram all the time.
Yeah, I started following you.
No,
so it's cool. Good deal. Yeah, I have that. I think I did a short on it. The dancing Jar Jar. It's pretty cool. I ain't kidding. It takes like 16 AA batteries. It's ridiculous. They were all fans. The best new canon authors are the ones who are clearly fans as well.
Yeah. That's what it takes. Love for what you're writing. Yeah. Not just like a paycheck.
Right. And some of them think that way too, though, and that's okay because it's how they make their money, right?
Yeah, that's a Bounty Hunter Wars trilogy.
Yeah, I haven't read that. I've heard that that's not that great.
You're not missing much. But
yeah, it's funny. I bought the Barnes and Noble collector.
I mean, I've heard people say they like it. So I mean, like, don't just take my word for it. You might love it. I don't.
Yeah,
know,
that's true. Right.
What I remember when I did my review of it later on, I think it was part 4 or part 5 of Christopher Nelson and Dylan were doing the history of the EU fandom. And they mentioned me, which I spit out my coffee when that happened. I was like, oh my God, Christopher Nelson is talking about me. And he talked about how I chucked the book and everything. But
I remember I saw that video.
Yeah. He talked about back in the day how when it actually came out, the book was very 50-50 with people, but I was one of the ones that just hated it when I read it.
Okay.
But yeah, so you might like it. I've heard a lot of people be like, yeah, well, I love that Boba Fett's so cool and stuff. And for me, and this might just be my own bias, I don't like Boba Fett. I don't find the bounty hunter thing that interesting. I never have. He's really good at what he does, and he gets money. Awesome. Can I get something more? And the only times I've really gotten that with him was there's these stories set after episode 3 called I don't know if you heard that. Apologies. But I think it was called Boba Fett is Dead and Boba Fett Blood Ties, which showed like him little with his dad Jango on missions, and then it showed him as an adult trying to protect his wife and his daughter because there's a whole like old story of him on Conquered Dawn, because he's had different origin stories, and it's kind of got fixed over time, but like of course George made the prequels and it's like, oh well, he's a clone. That kind of goes against a lot of what other people, because at one point Dark Empire was, he used to be a stormtrooper, and then he was a Mandalorian who lived on Conquered Dawn and left because he got dishonored or something, and the reason was because some bad stuff happened to his wife, some very R-word stuff happened, and so he lost it and killed the dude, and he was exiled, and so he just went back to bounty hunting. But that gets addressed in those 2 comics, and then when you get to Legacy of the Force, they do some really big characterization with him, because the 3 authors of Legacy of the Force, because there's 9 books, is Aaron Olston, Karen Travis, who wrote the Republic Commando books, Troy Denning. Fate of the Jedi is Christy Golden, who replaces Karen Travis. But the 2 consistents are Aaron Olston and Troy Denning. They do a lot with Boba Fett, and he's like a 70-year-old at that point, and I feel like I know nothing about you, man. I barely know anything about you, and you're 70. And so that series finally like gives me to like care about Boba Fett as like a person, because it actually like goes into him, So there's also a young adult Boba Fett series, which is it's okay. I don't think
I have some of the books. I haven't read them either. When I see them at Thrifton, I pick up whatever I can.
Yeah, I think I've just been spoiled on the young adult books that the EU pumped out, because like the episode 1 adventures are surprisingly really good. We have stories with Anakin and his slave friends on Tatooine before episode 1 with ghostlings from Crystal Star, so that was really cool. They give us the backstory to how Jar Jar got exiled, which I never asked, but it's actually really fun. So I'm really glad we got that. And episode 2 adventures, which are also young adult series, gave us Jango Fett and Boba Fett on adventures, and we get to meet Bosk's dad, and it's kind of like a precursor, because I got so excited for the Bounty Hunter Wars trilogy because I read those episode 2 adventures, and I was like, oh, they're talking about some stuff. And then it wasn't like that at all. But I was just really spoiled because a lot of the young adult stuff is really good, but the Boba Fett young adult books are exactly what you think when you think young adult. So it's like, it's fine for what it is, but it's just the bar was set so high that I was really disappointed in those ones. So
yeah, I have some of the Boba Fett series. Yeah. I haven't read the comics. It seems like he's got a lot of storylines through all over the place.
Yeah, it's mainly in like the comics, and they're mainly like in the original trilogy era is where he has the most stories.
But I've also heard, like you said, in Marcel, that was in Legacy of the Force. Yeah. I've heard that he's in there. I know he's in there. I don't know what situation it is, but I've heard it's good.
Yeah, I think it's really good.
Sky River, I feel so backwards as an EU fan as I've read a lot of the stories prequels instead of post Return of the Jedi. Got to cover the comics though. Can't wait for the post Return of the Jedi stories. Yeah, well, it takes time, man. Just enjoy the journey.
Just enjoy the journey.
Enjoy the journey. Don't feel. At first, I felt rushed sometimes because I wanted to catch up and get involved in conversations with everyone.
Yeah.
And then most of the time, I didn't know what the hell I was talking about, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I mean, the reason I focused on post episode 6 was because I was personally disappointed with the sequels I was given. So I wanted to see this other, how did they go about stories set after episode 6, which is why I'm mostly focused on that. But, then I finished it with the Legacy comics, and I moved my way back to Dawn of the Jedi and worked my way through, and I got through pretty much everything, so it just takes time.
It takes time, yeah. But just enjoy the ride. That's what I'm doing. It's start a book club. If you got some friends that nearby, that's what I did. It's a great time. We have some fun conversations. Scott says peak was Bloodlines as well. I'm actually looking forward to reading more about Boba Fett besides the movies and what we saw in TCW, and also seeing the evolution of the Mandalorians past Neo Crusaders and SWTOR Mandos. Yeah, I'm not familiar with
I'll
that.
say you are not going to get that much after SWTOR. There is Jango Fett Open Seasons, which deals with stuff before episode 1 with Dooku and what he did to the Mandalorians. You have that. I'm sorry, my dog, a new dog actually that we just got. It's kind of whiny, but we've got the Republic Commando books, which deal with a couple big Mandalorians. Cal Skirata. I won't go into who he's about or what he's about, but Cal Skirata is a Mandalorian that's involved in the Clone Wars era and those Republic Commando books, and I really like him. But you don't really get too much Mandos after SWTOR. Like, they kind of dwindle in their importance, which is kind of a thing too that in the KOTOR 2 video game, Kreia was kind of telling Mandalore of that time period that, like, yeah, you guys think you're so cool, but at some point you're going to be irrelevant and you won't matter anymore. And that's kind of true, because the movies, you don't hear about the Mandalorians, they're nothing now.
Well, is there any sort of tie to the EU with the Mandalorian show from Disney, like how they have because I know they were mentioned in the earlier TCW, like there was some stuff.
Well, I mean,
later on,
all the stuff that was mentioned in TCW would be it, but all the new stuff they introduced with, like, never taking off your helmets or anything, that's all just the new stuff.
That's just new stuff. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, it's not really a thing. I mean, Boba Fett never really takes off his helmet, but that's because he's Boba Fett, and that's just how he is, because he's mysterious. But
right.
Like other Mandalorians, they take it off all the time. Like Cal Skirata spends more time without his helmet on in the Republic Commando books than he does with it on. So, it's just it was just an interesting thing they decided to include for the Mandalorian show. But they also don't have Karen Travis's involvement at all in that series. So, which was a lot of people are iffy on Karen Travis because she's very opinionated and she's very rude to fans who disagree with her. Which, so like Matt Wilkins notoriously doesn't like her. Because she would call people like Tally fans and stuff if they didn't agree with her opinion.
I've talked to her.
You have?
Yeah, she was really great.
Yeah, she seems
nice to me.
Really nice.
She doesn't want to do anything Star Wars related.
Yeah, well, the reason for that is because she is the Mando girl. Like, she, like, you have J.R. Tolkien for Lord of the Rings, and he does all that stuff.
Yep.
She was the girl that, like, invented the entire Mandalorian language. I mean, it wasn't just her. There's other people that worked on the Mandalorians, but she was, like, a big factor in, like, a lot of the Mandalorian, like, society or culture, I should say, because we have a lot of their history through the Tales of the Jedi comics and stuff. But as for, like, who they are as a people, a lot of that was Karen Travis, and she really cares about the Mandalorians to kind of an insane level. They were making the TCW show, and she even made the novelization for the Clone Wars 2007 movie. She wrote that, but then they got to the season where they started dealing with Mandalore, and they didn't want her input at all.
Oh, okay.
And the Mandalorian stuff had like basically nothing to do with her stuff. And so she wrote Imperial Commando, which took place after episode 3. And she was supposed to write a finale to that, but she never did because she got so pissed off at what was going on at TCW with the Mandalorians that she just dropped it altogether. And she said, "I'm never touching Star Wars again." So yeah, that's why.
Yeah, I talked to her quite a bit back and forth for a little bit. She doesn't want it, and I'm like, that's cool. I appreciate that. Thanks for getting back to me. Most of the people are great when I talk to them.
Yeah.
Well, I knew there was some issues, but I didn't know the story.
Yeah. I'm also going to be, even though it's a very dude bro game series, like there are games that are like way more than games. Like they're so deep with their story and everything. And it's like, you know, because games for the longest time were just like something like, I mean, it is just for fun, but like I feel like they've elevated themselves above so much nowadays. Whereas like, you know, Shadows of the Empire, the video game, is like a very like just a video game. Like it's not very story heavy or anything like that. If you want the story, you have to read the novel.
Yeah.
But video games
Which
are
I
a lot
didn't
different.
know. I didn't know there was like a junior novel to that.
Yeah, there's a junior novel,
I
there's a
had no
normal
idea.
novel, there's a comic book for it. It's a whole
Well, I
thing.
knew that. I knew the comic book. I read the adult novel, which is really good.
The junior novel just basically harps down on some of the Zizor bits since he's so sexual.
He's a prowler.
Yeah,
I like that. I thought that was.
I know.
Cool.
I mean,
He's
it's good, but I feel
suave.
so icky reading his like because he's basically like, yeah, I want to get in Leia's pants. I just got to get my pheromones on her, you know. And I'm like, I don't like. It's the same thing. If you ever read the Dune novel, there's parts where you have.
We lost him. The dog probably bit the cord. That's probably what happened. The dog bit the cord, and now he's gone. And that's the pose we're gonna keep with. I'm not gonna remove it. The TCW is the tie between the Mandalorian and the EU. Okay, I see that.
Hello, am I live again?
Yeah, you're back. Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that.
And Sky River Chronicles wants to thank you there, man.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, everyone should thank Alex. He's the brain wizard here.
No, but I forget what I was saying. Oh, that dog is really.
I thought the dog bit your internet cord. That's what I said. That's what we lost.
No, she's meant to be for my brother, and they just left, so now she's freaking out. Sorry, this is so unprofessional. I'm so sorry.
No, I'm not professional. Everybody says, no, I'm not. I'm far from it, man. But I just like having fun and talking with you guys.
I love talking with you too. You're always so sweet and just easygoing. But I forget what I was talking about now.
We were talking about Karen Travis and the
the
whole situation there, and then the Dune novelization. How things didn't.
Yeah, so Caesar burned his head a lot. He's really gross and stuff. The Baron Harkonnen, they don't address this in the movies that have been coming out, but he's a big pedo, and he really likes his nephew. He finds him very sexy, thinks he's very luscious, and so I have to be inside of his head in some of the chapters. And so you hear him talking about his nephew and how hot this kid is, and I'm feeling icky because I'm reading it from his POV. So it's like, ugh. So it's
like, nah.
So I also felt that with Zizor, and it's like, I want Leia really bad. And I'm like,
well, did you see Leia? She's good looking.
I know.
Let's be honest.
Like,
no bullshit in here.
But so does Han, but Han's not like creep about it. That's the thing. So, but yeah. So that's all they really did in the junior novelization was
just
tone down
his prowlerness.
Yeah.
The prowler.
Yeah, the prowler. He's the Miles Morales Spider-Man villain.
Yep. You got an invasion going on with the disruption. You know what? Since you brought up Dune here, but we'll get here. I think Lynch's Dune represented the Baron's grossness pretty well.
But it also adds like this whole like black ooze thing that was never a thing to him. Like, I don't know. I like the Lynch Dune version, but it's a bit.
I've never read the Dune. Know nothing about it. I know you're a fan. Okay.
I'm a big fan. I'm excited for part 2.
Okay. That's where I was going. I just prior to this, I started watching. I got like an hour left of part 1. And it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
A lot.
One thing that I'm excited for is because the director said that because in the book, the whole idea that Frank Herbert wanted is that you shouldn't trust in any one individual in messiahs. He's like an atheist or whatever, but he's like, don't trust in messiahs. They'll let you down. Don't trust in one individual. It will turn badly. But the way the book ends, it's rather happy. And there's not really any, besides a couple little things in the book that you can kind of see if you read into it. It just kind of seems peachy dory, like episode 4, A New Hope, happy ending. We defeated the Empire. It doesn't really seem that bad. But the director said, well, since I know in hindsight, I'm just going to put some more stuff into part 2 to make it more clear that Paul Atreides is not a hero. He's not going to be a hero.
Yeah, he seems like he's, to me so far, I feel like he's kind of going to be bad.
Yeah.
Because don't spoil nothing for me.
No, I won't. But I haven't even read Dune Messiah yet, but I know that basically because he takes over. He'll win. He'll become the new emperor, but then you'll have that power and it will turn. That's all I know, though. I haven't even read it myself. Marcel is a better source of information on that than I am.
Well,
I read the first novel, and then I was like, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I love Leto Atreides. I loved Oscar Isaac's performance. I was like, I have to get more I have to get more Leto Atreides. So I went back in time to the earliest stuff in the timeline by Frank Herbert's son and Kevin J. Anderson. So I've been going through all of that. Now I finally finished all of that. I reread Dune. So now everything moving forward will be brand new for me.
So this movie that I'm watching right now, is this like the beginning of it all?
Yeah, this is the original work that was ever made. Yeah. It was Dune, then Dune Messiah, Children of Dune, God Emperor of Dune, Chapter House Dune. I'm missing one more after that. Heretics of Dune. And then Frank Herbert died, so we couldn't finish the story. Frank Herbert's son, Brian Herbert, and Kevin J. Anderson came together, and they wrote a prequel series that takes place like 30 to 40 years before the original novel. And then they also wrote a trilogy set like 10,000 years before the original novel, dealing with the Butlerian Jihad, because if you've seen the movie, they don't really use AI or any technology that extensively. Like they have helicopters and stuff, but they don't really use guns. They use swords. They have these shield technologies because they had this whole war with machines, because everybody at the time that Dune was coming out was doing robots evil stories.
Stuff,
that's what Isaac Asimov had, the robot series and the Foundation stories and all that. And so Frank Herbert was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to, it'll be the background of my story, but this is a story after they've already defeated the robots. What's life like after that? So that's why we have the Mentats now, who are basically human computers, and they take the spice, and so they can calculate things like a computer can. And you got the Bene Gesserit, who are basically the Jedi, but bad, kind of, till they're good guys, because they become good guys later on. And then you have the Space Navigators, which are these like mutated humans that navigate the stars. And so you have all that going on, but it's all because of these machines that they fought. They don't want to do it anymore. So, but Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson wrote the story of all of that. And then they wrote a sequel to Heretics of Dune because Frank Herbert didn't get to finish it. And that's very controversial with fans because it's not Frank Herbert. Yeah. And then they did Schools of Dune more recently, like a couple years ago, which is like 80 years after the Legends of Dune. And then they did a trilogy, which I did not like, which took place a year before the novel. I don't know how you make a trilogy of books set a year before the original novel, but they tried. And then they did, oh my goodness. And then they did Princess of Dune. She's not dying, I swear. She's just very sad.
What kind of puppy is it?
It's a Siberian Husky.
Really?
That my brother wanted to have. So, but he just left. So now she's freaking out because he's not there. So,
you know what the best thing to do with a breed like that is to have another dog, like the same breed.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Kind of like pack.
I have my Chihuahua Coco. So Chihuahua
that's
Terrier.
not really.
Not gonna
help. That's a little thing. That's not gonna help at all. That's a tiny thing.
So I just have to hear that all the time. But but yeah, anyway, so yeah, the first story is really good, and I think you'll really enjoy it. But yeah, I'm excited to see part 2 in March and see how they visualize that on screen, because there's some weird elements to the first book, and every book just gets a little bit weirder. Like all I'll say is the 4th book, we get a worm man who conquers the entire galaxy, and he philosophizes. It's like a traitor for the whole book. But it's just like a worm man. It's crazy. And they're never going to make that a film. Like the guy that directed these 2 movies is all like, I want to do Dune Messiah. And if people really like that, maybe Children of Dune. But I'm not even touching God Emperor. I'm not like I can't do it. I don't know how to do that on screen. So it's just like a whole CGI fest of a big giant worm for 2 hours talking. So
yeah, I wouldn't like that.
No,
that's too much. That's too much.
In a book that can work, but you can't really do that in a movie. So
yeah, I don't know. I really think this movie's done well so far. Like, I want to finish it after I get done doing this. I thought a lot of great acting going on. A lot of big name people in there too. I had no idea all them,
Yeah, I think the guy that plays Stilgar, Javier Bardem, is like perfect casting. Like that is exactly how I pictured it when I read the books. Like his cadence and everything. I love I love No Country for Old Men, which Javier Bardem was in, and so he was also in a James Bond movie, but I don't really remember that movie that well. But he was the bad guy in that. He was also in one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies as a bad guy. But I really like his performance as Stilgar in this movie.
Yeah, Stalin, right? That's your Stalin Skarsgård or whatever. Is that how you say his name?
No,
or am I thinking of a different character?
I'm thinking the sand dude that spits on the table. Or have you not gotten there yet?
Yeah. I've seen that. Yeah, I'm just where I stopped. The worm came up and ate the.
Oh, okay.
The sand crawler. I wanted to get in the
yeah. Because
that was cool to see too. That was really wild.
It's a really interesting setting because like there is an emperor like in Star Wars that is like the control over the known universe over everything. Yep. But the thing is that the only way people navigate through space and go through all these they don't have hyperdrives like in Star Wars. They don't have slip space like in Halo. They have the spice. And you have to partake of the spice, but the spice is also addictive. If you don't take it, you're going to die. So, yes, the Emperor's the one with all the power, but really, whoever is in control of Arrakis has all the power because it has control of the spice.
The spice, yeah.
So there's a lot of checks and balances there because, like, you have the Spacing Guild, which is in control of all the, the space flight. So, like, if they say, we're not taking you, Emperor, somewhere, then the Emperor's just stuck. And you can't tell them what to do. So there's a really interesting like dynamic there with it. Yeah, let the spice flow. But so there's a lot of balances and checks there. But that's why it's like, the Baron Harkonnens get kicked off, or the Harkonnens get kicked off of there. The Atreides come in, they see it as a big opportunity because like they could be controlled the spice. Of course, it's a setup, which I won't say anything else about that. But yeah, so it's
good, man.
It's a great just story on its own. Like, and I don't think about any of the sequels or anything. It's just a good story.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm watching it, and I was excited to tell you that because I know you're, Dune, you've read stuff, and you're a fan.
Yeah.
I know you.
I mean, Marcel's like the biggest fan, and he could definitely help you out more than I can. But from what I've read, I've loved everything, or mostly everything that I've read, by whether it be Frank Herbert himself or his son and Kevin J. Anderson. So, but if you like Kevin J. Anderson, you'll probably like the stuff that they've done in Dune.
I do like Kevin J.
Yeah,
I do like him. I do like his stuff.
You've watched Dune. You're an hour in, but you also finished The Joiner King, the first book of the Dark Nest.
Yeah,
I was curious to know how you and your friends felt about that.
Well, they didn't finish it. They didn't. Okay. They're still working on it.
Oh, okay.
You're
just quicker than them.
I enjoyed it so far. It's interesting.
Okay.
My friends, when we got together, we talked, and it's like, okay, I tried to go in the New Jedi Order with the mindset of like this was supposed to be it. No more books after this. We talked a little bit Saturday. We got together, and there are a couple chapters in, but they're like, it felt like it picked up kind of where it left off from NJO.
Yeah,
like a continuation, like another. And I could see that, but I felt like it's a whole other vibe too. Like
well, it's different author and everything, and
right. Like, okay, they're getting back together now. There's some mischief that's happening out there, and now they're getting involved. Like, like
it kind of reminds me of like a Bantam era story, like Tristan or something where it's like, this isn't a world-ending threat. It's something that could become a big problem, like politically, but it's not like the world's going to end if this isn't figured out. So it's a lot smaller, but it's important.
It's interesting how they like. Yeah, I don't want to say too much. I want to talk about it, but I don't want to say too much.
Yeah,
it's interesting how they get affected by it. If you understand what I'm saying, like how.
Other thing I wanted to ask, because you can probably do this rather vaguely. How do you feel about Jason? Because that's probably the biggest point of contention with most people when it comes to Dark Nest so far.
I'll be honest. I like Jason. I liked him from the start of NGO. I've always felt like I knew he was different. Right? Like unfortunately, I know what happens with him.
Yeah.
But I don't know how that happens with him. So I don't want to know that much.
No, I won't tell you.
Okay.
Yeah.
he's always been interesting because he's felt different to me. I like his philosophy style that was heavily influenced by. Like he was always questioning things and wondering,
Mm.
is this what we're supposed to be doing? Is this right? It's yeah. He did some things I was a little shocked by in the book so far.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what happens when it comes back around.
Yeah. Do you feel like it is like a complete departure from what you read in New Jedi Order, though? And it's okay if you think so. It's okay. It's a very 50-50. I've heard both.
It is
with people.
It is. When he left NJO, he was kind of like, I'm going to take off and I'm going to just go explore and meet with these people, and just feel things out. I thought, by the way, I just want to say that was epic what happened with him in Omni, I like to say.
Yeah.
Like that was wild.
Right?
That was wild. That was almost that was like an Anakin moment in Star by Star, but to a whole other level.
It was incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't see that coming at all. I'm surprised he survived that, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
It's a little different. It's a little different. His feel is a little different. Yes.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're asking me.
Yeah.
Without trying to get too more involved with what I want to say.
No, yeah. But do you necessarily dislike how it's going right now, or are you intrigued?
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
I'll say with what you would know from the first book, that wouldn't ruin anything based off of the first little bits of the book. And obviously I'm super biased because I love the whole story of Jason. But because people have told me, they've made the analogy that, well, he's the new Qui-Gon. He's going to be perfect. He's going to be great. He's going to lead the Jedi Order into this new era of greatness, or whatever. And I see that, and I think that was kind of the intention when it comes to Traitor. I think that's what, and I did my review of that, and I did my review of Traitor, and I think that's what Vizier wants for him. I think she has a certain idea of how things should be, and she has a certain view of things, and that's what she is kind of, this is her disciple, and she wants him to go spread the good message to everyone else. And I think that was the intention for him to be this new teacher, because it's what she was a teacher. She wants him to be a teacher. But also the thing is, though, he talks about how he wants to find a peaceful solution to the Vong War, and they do. But does he peacefully kill Omni? No, he kills Omni. He doesn't peacefully resolve that at all, And then the other interesting thing too that I've always thought was fascinating is he becomes one with the Force in Unifying Force, which only a couple people have done. Not even Luke Skywalker has done it. Anakin did it, but then he died. Anakin Solo, and then Anakin Skywalker did it, but that was during the Clone Wars. He did it once, and what happened to him? He became Darth Vader. So just because you achieve that heaven sent, where he reached heaven for a second, essentially,
like a phoenix.
Like a perfect bliss. He found that, but then he had to come back to the normal world. Imagine you find perfection, all your loved ones, when you die, you're with them, happiness, all that, no bad thing, and then you get forced back here. That's gonna be rough. So, and then he says, I'm gonna go check out for a bit. I'm gonna go explore some things, because he kind of wants to try to find that again, even though he even says in the book, I never will be able to, but I'm going to try to find it by natural means. But because it was kind of he didn't have any control of that was the Force entering him. But so he goes in this 5-year thing, and so he is acting different, but I don't think it's so far of a departure from where we last saw him. I think it's been a bit of a gap, so he's acting different. We're seeing some changes, but I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago either. So I think there's some precedence for that. Now, the criticism is that, well, they should have shown us that change, not told us. And that's fair, but they did tell us. And I know you didn't really read Young Jedi Knights, but the thing with Jason in those early books, like in Crystal Star and everything, he was this funny kid. he liked animals. That was it.
Yeah, he could talk to him. I like that about him.
And in Young Jedi Knights, he was really funny. Or he thought he was funny. And he was really sweet, and he was kind to everybody. But that was it. That was all of his characterization was. And the gap in between the last book of the Young Jedi Knights books to New Jedi Order is 6 months, which is a very short amount of time. And the difference in between Dark Nest and Vector Prime is that, and sure, they're young adult books, so they don't matter as much. But the Vector Prime does not address anything with his changes. There is a retcon later on, I think by Stackpole or Lucino, where it goes, well, I was always philosophical and deep thinking. I just didn't show that to anybody. So like they did address it, but that took a while. But the first book doesn't mention that at all. Doesn't mention the fact that him and Tino Kaw were in a relationship, that they were dating. You know, he's just clean slate. Later on, I think Troy Denning brings it back in Star by Star. He's like, yeah, I loved him, but things changed. You know, so he addressed it at least. But you know, Vector Prime, there was a couple books in. There's just no addressing what just happened. He seems like a vastly different person from where we left off with. I don't mind it because I think New Jedi Order is amazing. I think it's the best story in all of Star Wars. So I deal with the fact that he's just a lot different from where we left him. But, you know, but I accept it. Dark Nest, the issue, it's basically the same thing with people. They just don't like the direction that it's going. Because he's still a good guy, I'll say, by the end of the trilogy. But he's definitely in a different place by the end of the Dark Nest trilogy, to where when you get to Legacy of Force, you can be like, I can see it. Whereas after Unifying Force, you'd be like, that doesn't work. That doesn't make sense. But after Dark Nest, you can accept it. But it just requires being okay with Dark Nest. Because if you don't like Dark Nest, I mean, there's a lot of boring parts of Dark Nest. But if you don't like that aspect of it, then Legacy of the Force isn't going to change your mind. But
I'm excited to get to Legacy of the Force.
It's really emotional gut puncher. I'll tell you that. It's
I've heard,
especially with Jason.
Okay, well, let's hit a couple comments here and then get back to
the world.
That you must be talking about Dune.
Yeah, he's talking about Dune.
Yep. Maxine, the Darkness gang, rise up.
She loves Darkness.
Today. Yeah, I know. She told me. So far I'm liking it too, Max. Brennan's here. What's going on, fella? Can't wait to analyze these characters and their arcs, especially since we get to see them grow up.
Oh, it's going to be a great journey for you when you get there.
It is, my friend. It's fun. That's so I got a little time between, so I'm hoping to knock out the Junior Jedi Knights books just to get that. Like I mentioned,
you could probably finish those in a day if you try hard enough.
Yeah.
So when you don't have any interruptions, like a loud dog or something.
Well, it must be taking a nap now.
I think she tired herself out.
Yeah, so far, like I feel like I should get an achievement award for finishing the New Jedi. Or I think everyone should, because it's like a
stamp of approval.
Yeah,
like I don't want to say like
series.
I don't want to say like a real EU fan, because of course if you read a single book in the EU and you like it, you're an EU fan. But like I'll say you're like a hardcore dedicated EU fan if you've gone through all of New Jedi Order, because that's 19 books to sit through. So I'll say that it's not that you're not a fan of the EU, but you're really invested in the EU if you finish that series. I'll say.
Yeah,
I think that's fair.
Well, that's why, like everyone says, it's a great series. Now that's why and it is. It's phenomenal. The story was epic for one, but two, now I want to see the legacy and the fate. Like I want to get there.
Yeah, I think Legacy of the Force is a very smaller scale. It's not a world-ending thing like New Jedi Order was.
Yeah,
but I think emotionally it hits harder than probably maybe all of New Jedi Order, and it's my second favorite series, right next to New Jedi Order. Fate of the Jedi I have a bit more of issues with, but there's a lot of good stuff in there too. And then you also get to you should definitely end your journey not with Crucible, finish with those legacy comics that take place, like it's with Cade Skywalker, which is like the great grandson or something of Luke. I'm not exactly sure. The timeline's a little frilly there. We're not exactly sure because we don't have the story finished.
One thing I'll say is that the New Jedi Order made me completely forget about the Sith.
Yeah.
Like completely.
Yeah, the Sith are... Well, that trend will return. I'll say that. Maybe in different ways.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. We have the one with Legacy of the Force. That's an obvious one. But then also Fate of the Jedi introduces an old thing from the past. And then the Legacy comics has the new villain Darth Krayt. I won't say anything about him, but he has a different kind of view of how that should all work, which is different from the Sith of the Old Republic or the Bane Sith, the Rule 2. But it's still Sith again. So it goes back to Sith.
It comes back.
But,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, they did the Vong was a great fantastic
enemy
idea.
that isn't Sith. Yeah. Yeah.
I still want to get one of them figures.
Those figures.
Good for bad. They're BA. That's for sure.
I found some Kenner ones that look kind of funky on eBay for like 400 that I'm not willing to drop right now, but you know, yeah. But
yeah,
they're out there.
Yeah, well, yeah. There's collectors that got them, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Maxine, I'll defend Legacy of the Force and Fate
She's
of the Jedi.
She's a big Abeloth fan, especially. So
yeah. Yes, I know that. That's why I want to get to Supernatural Encounters. I want to do all this.
I'll say this: if you don't want to wait, you don't really have to read everything, because I certainly haven't read every single possible thing that is referenced in there. So I'd say finish the novels that you're reading all the way through, read the Legacy comics, and I could give you a list of maybe some older comics that you might want to check out before reading, like the ones with Tilotny and the and all that stuff, and some of those weirder Marvel issues. Okay. You know, if you really want that, try to find you a list like that, and then you can kind of just jump into it. You won't understand everything, but not to freaking self promote, but you have Super Literary Encounters. Anything you miss will help you. So
I know. Damn it! I was almost, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I was gonna start listening to it Friday at work. I'm like, you know what? I'm putting it on. I'm gonna listen to my boys and everyone talk about it.
The first two parts probably wouldn't be too bad.
Boys and girls, and get it in.
Yeah, the first two parts probably aren't that bad if you listen to them, because it mostly goes over what you probably already know, which is just that there's a trial being held on Arhol's book on whether it's trustworthy or not. Books 3 to 6 are where things really get insane with what's actually going on, with a lot of the big lore stuff and story stuff. So I think before that, though, you're relatively okay in terms of sure, you'll learn some things like that you wouldn't know, or that you would because reading it's different from hearing about it, but you already kind of know the gist of what's going on in that first early part of the book. So I don't think you're missing too much if you listen to that part. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Supernatural Encounters is a lot like it really is like the Silmarillion, because if you read the Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien, you learn about Iluvatar, the god of all creation, who created everything, and then we learn about Melkor, which is basically Satan of the setting. And Melkor does stuff for thousands of centuries, where he's messing with everyone, ruining everything. He creates these terrifying monsters, this big giant dragons that make Smaug look like a baby, big giant spiders that make the spider in Return of the King look like a little tiny nothing in compared to the biggest spider, or you have or the Balrog that we see, the big demon looking thing with a whip. That's a baby and compared to what's been used in the past based on what Silmarillion tells us. So, and then we learn that Sauron, the big bad of the entire trilogy, is a lackey to Satan. And so he's not even the worst thing out there. He just, compared to the normal people, he is this big deal, but he's kind of nothing in comparison. And so it's kind of the same thing with Supernatural Encounters, where after you finish it, you're like, dang, everything, the Vong are terrible. It kills trillions of people. Yeah. But in the grand scheme, they're nothing. That is the scratching the surface of the terrors out there. So it makes everything feel so much smaller in contrast. But so it's the same thing Silmarillion does with the Lord of the Rings. I never look at Lord of the Rings the same way. I'm like, oh, that's why in the Silmarillion it gets a couple pages dedicated to the entire story of Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, whereas you get thousands of chapters, not that, you get a whole bunch of chapters on the earlier history because it's just so insane. But yeah, so yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, you mentioned that before.
Yeah, and then
okay.
Yeah, and then also near the end of the book, I told the whole Superlit crew to read issue 46 of the Marvel Comics, because there's a whole section of the book or whole chapter dedicated to that one comic. So, but yeah, there's gonna be a lot of things I'll say this: it's controversial. I've been somebody's trying to hold off on saying anything negative about it because I love it. But one thing I really dislike about the book, and this is a legit criticism, there's a lot of connections to things that I don't think should necessarily be connected to Star Wars. Some of it I'm fine with, like anything that Lucas technically touched, I think is more fair game. Like TX-100, that old film that Lucas made before Star Wars. They make that like a planet where that happened. And I can buy that. Okay, that happened on some planet somewhere. That's fine. I don't care. Willow is canon now. That happens on a planet as well. The Willow story. I'm a little iffy on that, but I'm more okay with that. There's a lot of other things that I'm not okay with. It's not the hugest part of the book. It's maybe like 15% of the book outside of the like 85. That's completely like original content or connecting to stuff pre-established in the EU already. But I really dislike that aspect of it. So there's going to be a lot of those sort of references where half the time I'm like, oh, am I wrong or is that actually what it's saying? I don't know. Some things I wouldn't completely, I didn't even know what it was talking about. So you could read the entire EU and still not understand everything going on in this book because it does a lot of things here. And that small section is something I really am personally not a fan of. But so my point is that it really doesn't matter how much you read because there's always going to be something that you're just not going to get. If it wasn't
my memory.
Well, even with if it wasn't for Superior Encounters, I wouldn't understand a lot of the things that were referenced in there. I'll even say this in our most recent Superior Encounter stream. Captain EO, the Michael Jackson video for Disneyland.
Yeah, I watched that video.
That's canon. It's canon.
MJ can dance, boy, and he can sing.
Yeah, he can dance.
I just want to say that, man.
I'd actually seen that though before, so because my parents are 80s kids, so I remember actually watching that. So
MJ can do his thing.
Yeah, but that one I also don't mind because that like could totally just be like some random ship dude who goes on a small adventure. The Star Wars galaxy is massive, so so that one I'm okay with. But like that's what I'm saying. Like no matter how much you read, you could read everything in the EU, you're still gonna find something that you don't get. So it's okay to just. I think if you just read the rest of what you're doing with your friends and the legacy comics and some additional reading, that some of us can suggest to you, you can go in and be like,
well, that's what I want.
That's okay.
That's what I'm looking for. And that's what everyone's been giving me. And that's what I appreciate.
Yeah.
Maxine says the super lit.
It's here to make sense of all the crazy references. Like Paw Patrol. I'm just kidding. Paw Patrol is not canon, but it is a running gag in our streams that Paw Patrol is canon to Star Wars now because we made a joke about the Paw Patrol puppies. And then we said it's canon to Star Wars now. We said so. But
I just want to say real quick that Arthur and his books on the floor videos are
Arthur's
awesome.
Amazing.
Arthur is amazing.
Arthur, thank you for everything that you've been doing. I really miss Christopher Nelson, and you scratch like that sort of like itch of like what I've been missing from Christopher Nelson. I really enjoy like your videos are really simple, but they're always phenomenal. I love them. And I wish that you had like millions of subscribers because you're so fun.
I do too. I want to do a podcast with him.
You got to do one. We got to get Arthur.
I'm working on it. Like I would turn Star Wars. I would shut Star Wars Stevie down, and it would be the Arthur show and Stevie show together.
Yeah,
like that's what I
co-host.
He's good, man. That's what I'm.
He's great.
That's what I'm looking for. So Arthur, we love you, brother. You're awesome. I liked you talking about the naked Twi'lek, so that was cool too. I just want to say that. There's a lot of variety in supernatural encounters, so if you don't like one chapter, you might like another.
I mean, there's 900 pages, so there's inevitably going to be something you like. Last week dealt with a lot of stuff from like the 80s Ewok show, and Maxine was super into it. Marcel was super into it. Al was super into it. I was all right with it. I'm not the biggest fan of the Ewok show, so I wasn't super into it.
Are we talking about like the cartoon or the movie?
Like the cartoon. Okay.
I
love the movies, but
the movie.
Yeah. But so I didn't particularly love those chapters, but it's okay because there's so much in there that there's gonna be something in there, at least one thing that you absolutely love. So and I love the majority of the book, and I still like those sections. I just don't love them. They didn't hold my interest like other chapters had. So because I just don't care as much about the 80s Ewok show. I like the 80s droid show more than the Ewok show personally. But
Mr. B's got a creative mind, man. I can tell that from talking with him. I like his style, man. I dig it. I dig it. If you're watching this, Joe, I dig it, brother.
We love Joe. Joe is amazing.
Yep.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's a sweetheart, too.
But yeah.
He's one of the nicest people I've ever met in person. So
I know. I want to meet you guys, man. I want to hang out. If I had money, dude, you'd all be at my house right now. We'd be opening all my toys and shit, having fun. I'd open them all. I'd be, let's do it.
Let's do it.
We'll record this and we'll just go crazy.
I mean, if we ever meet up, we were going to do a large stream like we did for Legends Con. We'll just have us all in one room. It'll be like a big Avengers crossover.
Yeah,
like
I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to Legends Con too, man. I think them boys are going to do a good thing. I just got good feelings. I'm excited.
Yeah.
You know, I'm pumped for it all, man. I want to get there. I'm going to try to buy my own jet.
You buy your own jet?
Yeah. No.
Good luck to you.
I ain't got that kind of money.
Yeah, me neither.
But yeah, man, thanks for coming on and talking with me. And don't worry about professionalism. Nobody's professional. Man. This is all fun. You're chilling with Stevie B. That's what's happening right now.
Yeah, there's just a lot going on today, so it's just very hectic out there.
Yeah, well, I get it. It's Sunday, man. I like to do them a little earlier, just because I'm an early guy.
Yeah.
But then
I would have done it
at church, and that's cool.
Yeah.
We could have did this from church.
I could have, yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus one side, Star Wars discussion the other. Yeah, great. Yeah.
So yeah, man, that's it. I'm just having fun doing these. Hopefully, you guys let me know if you're liking these live streams I've been doing. Let me know. I'm just curious. I'm just something different, trying. Kind of taking break a little bit from the interviews. We're just waiting on some things to get.
They're all phenomenal.
Get set up.
Doing great stuff there.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's been fun. Sometimes it takes a bit because some of these people are still active and doing things, and I'm working on one now, but I had to get a Disney contact to make sure it's okay type of deal. So, so it takes some time, but I'm enjoying doing this a little bit more just because of getting some involvement with everyone and, having you guys on, talking, learning.
Yeah.
It's great. Now my comments are blowing up here. Let's hit some of these up if you don't mind. By Jedi Exile, I mean the 12 Exiles. Okay, so you're talking about Super Lit, which I don't know yet, Marcel.
Well, if you know anything about KOTOR at all?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well, yeah.
I read the Old Republic books, but
yeah. Well, the 12 Exiles were just Korriban, the planet. There's the Red Sith race of people.
Oh yeah,
like Scourge was one.
Yep.
And so there was this schism between the Jedi, and this is stuff that existed before Supernatural Encounters. It just kind of gives some more details. But these 12 Jedi exiles, they didn't agree necessarily with the Jedi. They came to the Korriban, and they interacted and interbred with the Sith race, and then we kind of just got the Sith as we know them today from that. Though we also learned that Sith existed before that in some shape or form, but the Sith as we know them in the novels and stuff, it happened on Korriban with those exiles.
Okay.
No, that's a lie.
You all are nice.
That's
brother.
Stevie. That's Stevie and Marcel and Brennan. Yeah.
I'm a mean man.
Yeah.
No.
No, the real bully of the entire fandom is Matt Wilkins. He's like, you love naked Palpatine, Alex, because one time he had me on his live stream.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, we were talking about Dark Empire.
Video.
Yeah, we're talking about Dark Empire, and one of the most it's in like all my intros. What am I talking about? But just like it's a very famous art from Dark Empire's Palpatine coming out of the vat, and he's all naked. It's famous. It's not nothing about his sexuality. It's just he's there. But he made it a whole like bit. Now every time I talk to him, he's like, "Yeah, we all know your love for naked Palpatine." Like anytime I talk to him,
everybody's got their thing, man. It's okay, Alex. You can tell us. It's all right, brother.
It's okay to love Sheev.
Yeah. You mentioned Chris Nelson too. I'd like to get him on here too.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry, Chris. We can talk about not Disney, brother. If you're watching this,
yeah,
I'd like to have him on here live, talk about some collecting, have some fun.
Yeah,
it's been a while since I know he's busy. He's doing his family thing. I get that. We all have lives and responsibilities and obligations, and
he just keeps selling his books on Facebook. That's all he's doing right now.
Yeah,
all his merchandise.
He's got. I've been paying attention. I've been waiting for certain things to pop up.
Yeah.
That's good though. I mean, he gives us an opportunity to grab them.
Yeah, I really wanted
We've all said that.
Yeah, I really wanted those TCW magazines of that had the little short comics and stuff in there. But he said that Brendan was trying to get it. And I was like, isn't Brendan trying to buy this? And he's like, yeah, but it's still pending. Like, well, I don't want to steal it from Brendan, so I'm not gonna buy it. It's okay. Yeah. I'll hold off on that. So, but
anyway, brother, you got anything planned for the rest of the day? I know you get your California time.
I'm going to work out, and I'm going to read some more of book 7 of Legacy of the Force, Fury by Aaron Olston. So that's my plan for today.
Right on. Yeah, I'm gonna finish Dune. I'd like to start The Warrior. That's a series I'd like to check out. You know, I'm a Bruce Lee fan, and that's kind of like a story of Bruce Lee from a perspective. So I'd like to watch that. Well, let's see here. We got a couple before we head her off here. We got some more. Rat Sewage says Naked Sheev. Yeah, well,
everybody's got their needs. I guess
they got their itch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm Harry Potter.
Alex, Harry Potter. Me waiting for Chris Nelson to sell Young Jedi Knights books display.
Oh yeah, he has
that'd be cool.
He has this advertisement of Young Jedi Knights, which is it's always like the background of his videos.
Yeah, I think Scott's got something like that. I'm pretty sure.
Think so.
Pretty cool. I'm reading The Outsider by Stephen King. Stephen King, man. I gotta send you something, Marcel. I gotta send you something. You're gonna dig it. It's really good.
Words of approval by Marcel. So
probably
trustworthy. Probably.
Well, thanks again, brother, for coming on.
Thanks for having me on.
Being our biggest promoter. Man.
Sorry, I was 10 minutes late or whatever it was.
No, I was having fun. I was just rambling. I'm like, who's gonna want to just listen to me? You know, I was going
like
I need to have people
trying to get home. I was like,
that's all right. Yeah, he does have it. That's right, Scott. That's right. He does have that display, but he forgot to show it in our. Well, we'll get back together, Scott. Don't worry. I really enjoy doing this live stuff. Like I said,
we need more Lego discussions with Scott and you.
Hey, yeah, he's got some cool stuff. I'll have to pull out some of mine too. But thanks, Marcel. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Alex joining us, the man, the wizard. And well, next week maybe we'll have another guest on.
No.
But until then, you guys be cool and talk to you soon.
Bye.